So in this video, I'm going to talk about loneliness and why it's so common and what I felt about it. And I also have a journal entry from 2017. This was right after I left U of I. It was my first semester freshman year and I just wasn't ready, and I came home and I was really depressed for like a few months, actually many months after that. And this was what I wrote December, so like a few months after I came back. So I'm just gonna read some of it. It's kind of like 3 paragraphs. Yeah, I'm gonna read it and then I guess talk about it a little bit. So the first paragraph is: no one ever wants to be lonely, yet so often people don't use that knowledge to take the initiative to make someone feel less lonely. Sometimes that person that helps another out of a ditch just has to be you. No matter how down or heartbroken you are, you've just got to push right past and get down to what's important. So I guess when I wrote this, it was just like I was feeling lonely, and it felt like nobody around me really knew how I felt or cared enough to ask me how I was doing. I feel like also nobody really knew that I went home. I didn't really want to tell that many people, like only maybe my closest friends knew. So yeah, I was feeling really down at the time, and I felt like I could only help myself out. And like also at the time, I guess I was feeling like if you want someone to help you, you have to help other people too. So like maybe you should be the one reaching out to other people, being like, are you okay? Because then when they're feeling down and you're helping them out, they'll feel like they have to reciprocate, and that's how like friendships begin. And yeah, I guess that's one of the things that really confuses me, because it's like you don't want to feel lonely, but at the same time, you don't go out of your way to make other people who you think feel alone. You don't necessarily go out of your way to help them. So that's like a big issue, I think, right now, is especially right now in quarantine. A lot of people just lose touch with a lot of their friends and stuff. They can't see them or meet in big groups anymore. So I think it's really important to keep in touch with the people that you want to keep close to you. Okay, so here's the next paragraph. I fear being alone. I fear not being wanted or loved. No matter how many people I surround myself with, no matter how many people I may call a friend, there's always that lingering fear that no one will call you first when something goes wrong. No one will see you walk away and come chasing after you. No one will say, you're the one and the only one. There's always that feeling of insecurity. My heart yearns to have someone care about me as much as I care about them. So I guess, okay, there's this one story that I kind of tell people when I was younger. I remember, especially in like first and second grade, I always saw people like paired off. Like even in my family, like my mom and my dad had each other, and then my 2 brothers had each other. And at school, like I saw all these people I wanted to be friends with paired off and being best friends with other people, and I felt like I was the only one who didn't have like a pair to be a part of. And I feel like that's really sad, because I was really young and at the time I didn't understand that like you can have multiple friends, and like the fact that I was already pairing people off and being like, oh, I'm so alone, just kind of like saddens me. And like when I wrote this, I guess I was still feeling that way. Like when I said you're the one and the only one, you can't really have only one person in your life being like the one who's always there for you. But I also had the feeling like you do have a person that you feel really close to and you feel like you can tell your problems to, and you come to them for advice. And I never felt like that person was me for anyone else at the time. But I feel like now I do have a best friend that I go to, and I know that she comes to me for certain things. We like meet up and we talk about stuff. And yeah, so I think that's important to have someone that you feel close enough to tell like basically anything, and to try to help you with whatever you need. So I still like, I don't fear being alone necessarily anymore. It's like, I guess now it's more like on the relationship side of things. Like I'm getting I'm 21. That's not like that old, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of people have had the experience of having a long-term relationship, which I've never had. I've met people and had it like really close to becoming something, but then either like I break it off or I'm like, no, I can't do this, and then I back away. And I did have one that I thought was gonna work out, but then it was like it turned into long distance and it just didn't work out in the end. But yeah, I guess that's my biggest fear, like in the loneliness department, or like feeling alone, really. But it's not necessarily that I feel like alone, like utterly alone. It's just that feeling of the relationship or whatever at this point. Okay, so the next paragraph. I fear doing wrong. I fear that doing the smallest things will turn someone away from me. I fear that I do something that make people not like me. I always fear the thought that I've done something terrible to myself by being me. I always think that everything that happens to me must be my fault, and in a sense, it's not. But in another sense, it is. I could never walk around being mean to people and not expect them to turn away or leave me alone. Yet I do not believe I have hurt anyone, but I still feel so alone. I've always felt the need to be somebody's first, the one somebody would come to for advice first, the one somebody would want to have over first, the one somebody would ask first upon finding out that they had an extra seat at a movie. Yet I feel as though I have never been that one. So the beginning of the paragraph was kind of about like doing or like being yourself and feeling like no one appreciates who you are or likes you for who you are. And like people say, oh, you should be yourself, people will like you for who you are, and those are the people that will stick around. And I feel like that, so that's like it's great advice and all, but like sometimes when you're yourself, you feel like still people don't want to be close to you, and you kind of question whether like that means I don't like your personality, or like should you change yourself and stuff. And I feel like a lot of times it's not necessarily your personality that is like pushing them away or repelling anybody. It's more like they don't really get to know you and they don't know what you're like. People usually go for like the most outgoing person and the people who like are easy to talk to, but I found my true friends and people like that it took a while to get to know, because like everything that is meaningful about them was beneath the surface, and like yeah, everything I like about my best friend I didn't know was there when I met her. And I don't know, I feel like it just takes a lot more than just seeing what someone's like on the outside to really know whether you want to get to know them. So I feel like that's also part of it. It's really hard to find people that are gonna stick around and learn enough about you to really see who you are and like want to keep you around for who you really are. Because I feel like a lot of times also people are friends with a lot of different people, and it's all like on the surface though. It's like in high school when you have this big party, you have maybe like 80 people over, and you know everyone on a certain level, but you don't know everything about them. You don't know like they don't tell you your secrets. You don't really like have deep relationships with them. So I guess that's a difference. I would say I prefer like a small group of friends that we know each other well and we can talk with each other about basically anything, rather than having a bunch of people to hang out at a big party and like knowing everybody to a certain extent. I don't know, that's just me, but yeah, I feel like with big groups you can feel lonely, even because like I was saying, you don't have that close relationship with them. So yeah, I don't know. It's a hard thing, like loneliness, because you want human connection, and sometimes it's just really hard to find people around you and like meet people. Like where are you supposed to go to start talking to someone? If you like see someone, say at a coffee shop, you're not necessarily going to be like, you might have a conversation, but that doesn't mean you're going to go and see them later, hang out with them. So I feel like you just have to, especially if you're at school or at work, you have to like get involved more and talk to people and make an effort to invite them to things and plan stuff, because it's really hard now with everything being online and people meeting their partners and like marrying the people they meet online. It's really hard to just find people that you really feel a connection with. Um, the second part was again um, trying to find someone, like one other person who really cares about you just as much as you care about them, and having them be like the most important person in your life and them feeling the same way. It's not necessarily like a relationship thing, but also just like that feeling of a best friend, like being there for each other no matter what sort of thing. And it's really hard. I mean, I keep saying that, but it really is. Like, they say that once you're friends with someone for 7 years, it's going to last a lifetime. And 7 years is a long time. Like, when I think about people that I met 7 years ago and whether I even still talk to them, there's only one person. And like I keep saying, I consider her my best friend. And I think I met her in like 2014. So it's been like 6 years, and I feel like in a few months it'll be 7. And I feel like at this point we've had fights, we've grown apart a little, but we always come back together. And I feel like all of the things that we've been through has brought us to a point where like nothing can really keep us apart. We'll always eventually come back together, talk. And it's great because like even when we're apart for months, it's like we come back and we get together and start talking like no time has passed since I last saw her. And I feel like it takes a certain kind of friendship for you to be able to do that, to not have like this little barrier of time between you. And I don't know, I'm so grateful that I have her in my life, and I really want to be able to have that connection with other people. But I don't know, it's it's really hard to keep people around and have them want you in your life too, because a lot of times you just grow apart, or you don't have things in common anymore, and you just don't have anything that's holding you together. So you grow apart and stuff happens, and you gotta move on and meet new people. But yeah, so that's my little spiel, yeah, on loneliness. And I guess, yeah, I gave you a few tips on what to do. You just have to like put yourself out there a little bit, and like you gotta meet more people, and like kind of, I don't like saying this, but you kind of gotta sort through them, like gauge whether they think that you're worth enough to them, and like see what you have in common. And the more people you meet, the greater chance you have of meeting someone worthwhile and someone that you will be friends with long term. So I guess that's the biggest thing. And also just being a friend to them, because someone's gotta be the one to like create that stronger bond. So if you're a really good friend to them, it's like they're like, oh, this person must care about me a lot, and then they'll do the same for you. So I feel like another big thing is being a friend for someone else, and that will help you make friends and in the end be less lonely. And yeah, so that's basically it. Yeah, so next time I'll talk about other topics. I actually don't really have that many ideas right now, so I guess I'm gonna try to go find stuff to talk about. So yeah, see you guys later.